Good evening, NC Cooperative Extension, Cherokee County. My name is Lisa Ellis, and I'm currently on temporary staff at the Cherokee County Center. So I'm the summer intern, and here I have our 4-H agent, Shannon Coleman, and she's just going to tell us a little bit about herself today. So how are you today?
I'm good, Lisa. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. It's been a good day. So tell us a little bit about yourself and your story.
Well, I was raised here in Murphy, so I've been in Cherokee County my whole life. I was a 1990 graduate of Murphy High School. I went to Tri-County Community College at the time. It was just community. It was more of just a 2-year school, and they didn't have a lot of options then. Still on quarter hours, that kind of thing. I received an associate's degree there, and I went in as a transfer student. Took a little longer because of the fact they were quarter hours, not semester hours. So I then transferred to Western Carolina University, where I got a Bachelor's of Science degree in interior design, which is kind of off for a 4-H agent. I did work for a few years in that field, and then I retailed and wholesaled produce. So I know a lot about fruits and vegetables. Then I came to work here at the Cooperative Extension in 2001. So this is my 19th year. So I'm working on number 19. I have one child that I've raised. He is actually my great nephew. And so if somebody asks, I'll just say, yeah, he's my son, because it gets sometimes complicated when they look, what? He is 18, and he has lived with me since he was 18 months old. He is a Marine, so I'm very proud of him for that. And I would show a picture, but I don't know if you'd be able to see it. But he is in California now. So some people go, why in the world were you qualified to work in 4-H as far as my degree? My degree has a little bit more to do with family consumer science, probably, when most people would think, well, that would be more fitting. But I worked with Girl Scouts. My mom was our leader. She was in Girl Scouts for 20-something years. She had 3 girls, and 1 boy. So she had to be a Girl Scout leader for all of us. My oldest sister was the one that started it, and she's 6 years older than I am. But Mom was in for 20-something years only as a volunteer. So she was never a Girl Scout as a child. But now I was involved with Girl Scouts for 14 years. I may have been 15. It's kind of hard to remember back that far. 12 years I was a scout. So I was, by the time, they didn't do like daisies when I was little. You started basically when you were in first grade. And so I was a brownie, a junior, a cadet. And so I went through all that. I went through the 12 years of scouting. And then I worked 2 or 3 years. I argued with Mom about that. I was like, was it 2 years? Was it 3 years? As a volunteer leader, I was what they call a junior leader with another. I had a couple different ladies that kind of worked with. And I also, as a junior or cadet, you kind of worked with your volunteer leader in a role maybe to help the brownie troop or to do something. But I was actually a junior troop leader for a few years myself when I was still at Tri-County. So I was involved in 4-H when I was in 5th grade, maybe a little bit in the 4th and 5th, and then a 5th for a full year, and then a little bit in the 6th. But that was my first experience with getting to go on a trip. Technically without my parents. My dad helped drive the bus, which broke down a lot. And everybody can tell you about the Cherokee County 4-H bus breaking down, because it was a very positive, going to happen thing. You were definitely certain probably going to break down. But that was my first trip to Washington. And I love to go to Washington, D.C., and that was my very first trip away where I didn't have to really, I was under the control of more of my 4-H leader versus my parents. So that was really awesome. My 2 older siblings were going, and they almost weren't going to let the 5th graders go, but because I had 2 siblings going, they were going to let me go. So that was so much fun. It was an experience that opened my eyes to see what was out there. First time I think I'd ever rode public transit was when I went in 5th grade, because we didn't have that here in Murphy. And still really don't have public transit here in Murphy. We have a little bit. I've been involved in 4-H since I was a child of some kind. I didn't stay long with that. I was more of the brownie, and my older siblings were getting to do other things, so we kind of went away. But we were with the Jamala group, and that was when I came to work here. It was still our oldest going group. Um, our leaders, unfortunately, were kind of getting older, and they didn't have anybody to take over the club, so that club kind of it went away, but right as I was coming on. So it was really impressive to have a club that old. And they were still going on trips and still doing stuff. So they were really working real well to get kids out and be involved in learning what's out there in the world. So I started December 3rd, 2001 here. So I guess you may have some more questions for me.
Yeah, so I love that, and I love just how your story really evolves around 4-H. So what was probably the main reasons that you really fell in love with 4-H, though?
So when I started here, I was actually the 4-H and FCS agent. They did like a 60-40 split. And that's what I was hired as. I was hired as to do both. And I enjoyed the FCS part. I enjoyed the people I met through working as the FCS agent. I had a lot of great groups. They called them Extension Community Associations now, but at one time they were known as the Homemakers. And they had started changing that name about when I came on. They wanted it to give it a better ring for us to have, because a lot of people didn't want to be a homemaker if they were a male a lot of times. And that group was open up to everyone. So when I was hired, I was doing that. We were able to get another money for another agent. So they asked me if I would like to stay because I was doing both, the 4-H agent or the FCS, and I chose 4-H. One, because of working with youth and seeing what it did for me, to be able to travel, to be able to see things I didn't get to see, to get that leadership quality, and also, I like kids. So, and the FCS, I think that we could have had somebody that was more specialized. I was just really, I liked what I was doing, and I was doing that more, really 4-H more than I was doing FCS. So I was able to stay with what I was doing. Had a great program associate at the time, Jane Stiles, and she knew everybody in the county. So she was able to kind of help me kind of get used to that work, since I had not been in that type of work with 4-H or with any of this type of organization that Extension is. But the biggest thing is the kids. And I enjoy the learning. And there's so many things you can do with 4-H. My dad always says I'm kind of like him, a jack of all trades. I like to do a little bit of everything. So we have so many different curriculums that also really makes me happy to get to fit a little bit with everything. I'm not good at all of them, but there's some of them I really enjoy, and some of them I'll dip my toe in and say, okay, this is not for me.
I love that too. Jack of all trades is definitely what you are. So how do you think that 4-H kind of shaped you as a woman that you are today?
So it made me a better parent, although sometimes I was gone a lot for trips with work. Elias was able to do some of those things if he chose to. I didn't push him to do a lot of 4-H stuff, but there's a lot of stuff that he learned through me doing 4-H, and he can do anything that he puts his mind to. And that's kind of what I tell our kids that are in 4-H, that they can do anything they put their mind to.
So, kind of the running question for today, especially with COVID-19, what kind of precautions are you guys making just while keeping the program up and running smoothly?
Well, currently, our youth are not allowed to meet in person. They can meet virtually. However, with our internet not being great here in Cherokee County, which I know you found that out firsthand, it's kind of hard. And they've done virtual school for so many months that they're kind of like, I don't really want to be in front of the computer, which is unusual to hear a kid say that. But a lot of them have went away from trying to be online and to get outside more and do things, which unfortunately that keeps them from doing some of the fun activities we have online. Also, the internet accessibility also prevents that. We do have some great summer programs that we're doing, so that are yes, they're online, but they can also just look them up, figure out what to do, and then they can go to the site and do them. Great, a lot of hands-on activities that they can do with their family too. So it's not just, oh, only the 8-year-old's going to do this. It can be the 8-year-old and the whole family. So that's what we like about some of these changes. Of course, then they can do them at home, and that spends more family time with them. Um, Most of them are where they can just maybe download it if they have to go to somewhere and download it, and then they could go home and do it without having internet access, which is also one of those things that we're hoping that the kids can do. We're looking at doing some fun things with like Kahoot, with our clubs, trying to get them back up and running where they don't have to be in person. Unfortunately, ours clubs are mostly really hands-on, like the fly tying and fishing club. It's kind of hard to tie flies over the internet when you don't have the stuff. Our leader has good access to internet. However, they would have to get all the devices and everything, and that's usually provided at a club meeting. And since we can't meet, that's kind of hard. So that part has been difficult. And then our horse club, of course, they're used to being riding this time of year. Usually this week or last week would have actually been at the horsemanship clinic. So that's kind of been hard. I've been trying to keep up with my volunteers, either by phone or email or a text just to say, hey, what's up? And they understand. Our livestock group really can't meet because they don't do necessarily showing. They do a little show sometimes, but they usually do a lot of hands-on at the club meeting as well. And when you can't meet in person, it's very difficult. And I think a lot of folks are just like, I don't want to sit in front of a computer and a camera to do anything when I can go outside and play the yard and be okay. But we still have lots that they can do online, and we're trying to make sure that they're ready for that. Our volunteers can meet, and some of those club leaders, my club leader and my volunteers that are like family adults, they can actually get together, and they're actually working on the concession stand out at the arena. We had a flood in November. We tore everything out in February, and then all of a sudden we couldn't get together to do anything. So they have actually been, a couple of them at a time, just adults, have gone out and painted, starting to get all that ready, put a new ceiling in because everything was molded. So we took real good precautions about bleaching and cleaning and getting rid of all the mold, even painting inside, and it looks fabulous as far as the painting goes. So we're working on getting that ready, because if the Saddle Club decides to start doing things, then that's our fundraising is for that club, is that concession stand. And I told them, I said, well, only the adults, and mostly only the adults worked anyway. So they would have to just be real careful. But those are some things that are happening right now, even though we can't meet. We do want to encourage our kids to get on and look at our summer activities, our virtual ones. You'll see me on a couple of them. I actually have some videos, especially with our electricity, and I'm looking forward to seeing how many of our kids actually take advantage of those summer programs, and there are tons of them. We're even going to, another agent and I are doing some baking. Those videos are rather interesting as well. But a lot of fun with the STEM, and I love the science. So that's one of my favorite ones.
So how do they access to get on to just to see what summer activities are available?
So always go to our Cherokee County page is one way, and that's cherokee.ces.ncsu. But and then look for those virtual summer programs on that. And I've put it on to go out in our newsletter as well, and we'll keep posting those on our Facebook page. And I do try to put them on my personal page for adults that have children and you don't have to be a 4-H'er. That's one thing. There's a few things you have to sign virtually, obviously. And so any youth 5 to 18 can access these activities. So it's not just for 4-H. So if you've got a family at home you're watching this and you say, oh, I'd be interested, but my kid's not 4-H. Well, they don't have to be. But if you'd like to be, please get a hold of me either through email or you can do it through Facebook. call me at the office. My office phone goes to my cell phone, so when I'm not in the office, I'm available.
That sounds great. So that's all that I have for you. If you have anything else, just shoot it out there. It's totally up to you.
I was going to talk about a few of those events too. 4-H Electric Congress usually happens in person at a university somewhere. We're actually having that virtually, so we don't mess up. This is our 73rd year in North Carolina, and there's a lot of states that are very jealous of our electric program. I love our electric program. That's one of the ones I did some recordings for. I did 3 different lessons in the 8 to 10-year-old group for the STEM. So get them there. You'll learn how to make a compass with a needle, a bowl of water, a little piece of styrofoam, and a magnet. So that's all I'm going to say about that. So that's a lot of fun, and you can do it outside at a creek. I've done that with kids, and so that's a good way to get out if you're camping to do that little activity. But 4-H Congress is virtual this year, and that's where our youth will be doing their state presentations. And we usually do a lot of leadership activities, and they also tap in for our honor club. So any child that's been inducted into the honor club will be done there at 4-H Congress. We had a virtual summer camp going on this week, so if you actually did a camp out, and then our horticultural science camp, which is at NC State usually every year, that's free this year. It's usually like $600. So you can actually do the virtual NC State Horticultural Science Camp, which is awesome for that. And we'll try to keep that posted we try to keep everything on our extension page, our Cherokee County extension page. Again, that's cherokee.ces.ncsu. But if you have questions, you can always give me an email or a shout out or phone call. That's all I have.
Great. Yeah. So your extension is actually 4. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So you just call.
You're looking for the 4-H agent. I'm extension 4. So
Yep.
when you call that number, you don't even have to listen to I'm extension 4. Just remember you're looking for 4-H. So.
Okay, sounds great. So have a great day, and I just wish you the best for the rest of this week, which is tomorrow, and just pretty much just District Ag Day is tomorrow, correct? Or Activities Day?
Activity Day is. I don't have any youth participating this year, so I didn't have any videos to download, but they all did their videos on one shot, and my understanding we had a great turnout for that. 4-H agents usually don't get to judge those because we know most of the kids. Even if they're not in our county, we do know them from other activities. So it's a wonderful day. It's a wonderful opportunity for youth to be able to do presentations in a fun, friendly manner to where they're going to grow and their presentation techniques. So it's a wonderful opportunity. And if you're interested in doing those type presentations, please give me a call. We'll talk about it. I mean, again, we've got another year, but we work on them whatever time of year it is. We work with our youth on our presentations.
So that sounds great. Thank you so much just for today and just tuning in for a couple minutes. So yeah.
Well, thank you, Lisa, and I think she's doing a great job for us here, and I appreciate that she's taking it with stride, having to do everything virtually.
Well, thank you very much.